by now, we've probably all heard of Gabby Petito, whether or not you want to. She was a 22-year-old white woman who went missing in late August on a road trip with her boyfriend. She garnered a massive amount of attention from news outlets as well as from social media. And this level of attention raised some eyebrows because people discussed the lack of coverage of missing person cases involving Black, Latino, and Indigenous people. So this brought
Hmm.
people to discuss something called missing white woman syndrome, which refers to the disproportionate media coverage of missing person cases involving white women compared to the relative lack of attention towards missing person cases involving non-white people. So my question to you guys is, can the general public alone mitigate white woman syndrome, or is that an impossible task without drastic changes to the newsrooms that cover these cases?
All right.
Let me
Let
hear
me
from
let me
Lizzie.
jump in first here.
Oh
So
yeah, sure.
I was listening to a criminologist on one of the local radio stations, and he was talking about how these images. He was explaining how we got to white woman syndrome, and you know, we have these images of saving the damsel in distress, who's always a young white
Hmm.
girl. Prevalent in all our books, stories, movies from our childhood. You think of Snow White, Rapunzel, Beauty and the Beast, Alice in Wonderland, all these
Hmm.
damsels, white damsels in distress, and that's where it kind of comes from. So the infatuation's kind of like programmed in our minds from our youth. But it goes back to why the problem with Black Lives Matter. I mean, the issue of Black Lives Matter is, we've been trained that Black lives aren't important. It's the white damsels in distress that are what's important. So I don't know. I honestly have a lot more to say, but as far as the newsrooms, they absolutely have to take the lead on this. Absolutely have to take the lead on this. Micah.
The general public already does try to take the lead on these things. Every missing person of color that I've ever seen is always on Facebook. It's never on the
Mm,
news unless it's a high
mm,
profile person. And not even then, because
mm.
like Kelly Price was missing for a few days and nobody gave a damn. She's found, by the way. Um, Look,
Allegedly. Allegedly.
allegedly, I have expanded thoughts on this on the latest preview episode of Black on Black Cinema, where you can hear us talk about missing white woman syndrome for about 45 minutes. But yeah, it's a problem that needs to be corrected through institutions.
All right, Lizzie.
One of the things that pissed me off over the past couple of weeks about this particular topic, and again, I feel for Gabby's family. I hate that, she was murdered, that we
Hmm.
actually saw her demise play out. But one of the things that pissed me off is that people were making excuses for why white women syndrome is a thing, saying, well, the reason why, her story was out there was because she was a video influencer and it was
Hmm.
totally different. She had a social media presence, which other persons of color don't have. And that's bullshit because this isn't a new issue. This has been going on for decades,
Yeah.
Hmm.
to the point where there's a Law and Order episode about white women syndrome as it relates to people going
Mm.
missing. There's a Criminal Minds episode where there
Right.
were two young girls,
Right at
one
time.
white, one black. And so this is reflective of what our culture is like
All
here
right.
in America. This isn't anything new.
Yep.
Isn't
Let's get to
anything
the
new.
let's get to these comments real quick. Ellen, we can talk about it more. I actually want to talk about this in the after show. So
Okay, great.
actually, you know what? I missed the comments from earlier, so I want to go back and say it's a big deal. Cuomo, Mel Blaine said it's a big deal. He disrespected her, treated her like an object. Fire him. Jacqueline Robinson said, "I'm shocked that Chris was still able to walk. Most husbands would have caught a case for whooping his ass." Um,
There you go.
and Mel Blaine says, "If someone grabs my ass at work, I'm going to HR and make a huge deal." Um, Jacqueline Robinson talks about white woman syndrome, and late Glenn Eiffel called out the white woman syndrome years ago. Decision needs to not only start with law enforcement and newsrooms. Olivia says, I wish we didn't have to use real life missing or murder people to explain the syndrome, because I mean, this poor girl is actually still missing. Um, and then Mike Winter says, the Kelly Price situation pissed me off.